All right, everybody, how's it going? It is Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024, and of course, we are a week removed from the end of the preseason, right? So that means there's only one thing natural, right? There's only one way to go. Only one thing could be happening, and it's the start of the NFL regular season this week, right? We got Thursday football, Friday football, Sunday night, Monday night, all kinds of games. We just got to get through these boring Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We already got through Monday. Now we just got to get through the rest of Tuesday. Drag our asses through Wednesday, and boom, we're at the start of the regular season. I can't wait. Of course, we have picks to get through. We can go over some other stuff as we get going through the video, but of course, you know how we start every video. Make sure you drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Make sure you leave your picks down below. I always like to comment back on picks. We can always do head-to-head pick 'em this year. See who does the best. Make sure you keep track of that. You can always just do so in the comments. I'll make sure to comment back every single time. I'm very good about that, and yeah. Just, you know, like, subscribe, make sure you stick around for all the NFL stuff we're going to do around the channel this year. Should be a pretty fun year. You know, lots of predictions you can go check out, lots of fun things, lots of live streams we're going to be doing. So tune in Thursday, tune in Friday, tune in Sunday, tune in Monday. We'll be live basically all weekend for the NFL. So, all right, let's get into the thing that you're hopefully here for, to hear us do some picks. But yeah, be sure to leave your picks down below. That's the most important thing. The likes and the subscribing is whatever, but the picks are the important part. Alrighty, here we go. This is last year's stuff. Just to remind everybody, we did pretty good last year. I forgot to put in my preseason record, but I did really good this preseason. 167, 105 for 61% last year. There were no ties, which is kind of weird last season. It felt like the first year in a while where we didn't have any ties, which was pretty cool. 167 and 105. We're gonna beat that this year. All right, what we've been waiting for, the big moment, drum roll. If I edited videos, I would insert a drum roll here. You know, some shit like that or something. All right, here we go. 8:20 p.m. Eastern Standard. We have the Baltimore Ravens heading to Kansas City to take on the two-time defending Super Bowl champions, looking for, you know, they're starting their quest for a three-peat, first ever in NFL history would be. Chiefs are favored by 3 and favored by 3 with an over-under of 46.5. Again, all lines are always included from FanDuel after I do all my picks, so the lines don't really have any impact on how I see the game. I just put them in there so we know who's favored, and for people who like to have them in there. Last year, the Ravens went 13-4. The Chiefs went 11-6. Obviously, they won the Super Bowl. And I'm going to be going with the Ravens in this one for a couple reasons. I really like the addition of Derrick Henry to the Ravens. I think that creates this super dynamic run game. Super dynamic offense where you have the ability to run with Lamar, the ability to throw. You have the tight end and Andrews. You have a decent receiving core starting to develop around Lamar. And then, of course, you have Derrick Henry, which kind of changes the entire shape of that offense. Should be a lot more powerful, should be able to run through people. And again, you kind of have to have this tension in the back of your mind of, what's Lamar going to do? How are they going to, how is the running combo of Lamar and Henry going to look? And of course, the Chiefs have to deal with that the first game of the year. So there's going to be this sort of, how do we deal with the Ravens? We have to see how it looks in person. It's going to be a problem. And with Kansas City, the last couple of years, they've been a bit of a slow start team. And that's not really a problem because, again, it's how you finish, not how you start. And typically, it seems like teams like Kansas City, Cincinnati, there are a few teams that kind of just stumble out of the gate for whatever reason. And it seems like the Chiefs rev up as the season goes along, and they also are going to be without who is it? Rice, I believe, is dealing with an injury. They've got a new young receiver. No, Rice is the one that's in trouble. Right. Someone's dealing with an injury. They've got young receivers. They've got a bunch of new stuff. Kind of a bunch, but again, it's just, we seen them lose last year to open up the season. I think it's just one of them weird things where it's like the Ravens seem to be super prepared to start an NFL year every year, whereas like the Chiefs kind of stumble out and get better as the year goes along. Kind of similar to what the Patriots used to be like, where they'd come out of the gate, they'd be beatable at the start of the year, but as it goes along, they get harder to beat. So again, if you play Kansas City, you want to catch them early. And I think because of the Ravens like new look, I think catching the Ravens early is a problem. So I'm going to go with the Ravens over the Chiefs, 24-21, in what should be a good game. Friday football, we're going to see some action down in Brazil, which is going to be interesting. So we have the Green Bay Packers taking on the Philadelphia Eagles down in Brazil. Eagles are favored by 3 with an over-under of 48.5. Packers went 9-8 last year. They started off really bad, but then they found their way toward the end. The Eagles went 11-6, but it was a real shaky 11-6 last year, where it was like They won 11 games, but boy, oh boy, was it a weird 11 wins. The offense was inconsistent. The defense was inconsistent, but they were able to get it done at the end of the day. With this one, I feel like these are two pretty evenly matched teams, right? Their offenses feel kind of similar. Their defense is maybe a little bit better in Philadelphia. Maybe the offense is a little bit more cohesive in Green Bay, which makes it run a little better. The team chemistry with the Packers is a lot better than what we know with the Eagles, right? We kind of have this idea with Philadelphia that there was disunity, kind of this problem with coaching and players and everybody getting along last year with Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Nick Sirianni. You know that there's some weird tension going on there, or at least that's what it seems. Whereas with the Packers, you just know it's a cohesive unit. They all get along. They all like each other. There's great team chemistry. That's a big plus when two teams are about as equal as the Packers and Eagles feel. I think the coaching you could slightly give to the Packers, which again, a lot of team chemistry and a lot of team unity goes to coaching. I also think that the environment of this game is going to be pretty severe. I don't think a lot of these guys have played in a game like this level since they've been in college, you know, because again, from what we've seen from Brazilian fans, they go pretty nuts. They have a good time. They're loud. It's quite the crowd to play in front of. So when I think of that, I like to look at like, well, what team do they like down there? And they're Packers fans. So this is like a home game for the Packers. Again, so those few things, again, it's the first week of the season, so it's really hard to like pull something. But from what I've seen, two pretty evenly matched teams. One has better chemistry in the Packers, and the environment of the game is going to be for the Packers. So I'm going to go with the Packers in this one in what should be another really good game. All right, Sunday football. Now we're on to the bulk of it. Oh boy, game of the week. Pittsburgh Steelers takes on the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons are favored by 3 with an over-under of 42.5. Steelers went 10-7 last year out of nowhere and made the playoffs. Falcons went 7-10, kind of a rough year. But hey, I think I'm going to go with the Falcons in this one. I know we have a rule about not picking the Falcons, but they have a new look. They have a new quarterback. Their defense looks pretty good with Bates and Judon added. They added Kirk Cousins, so now they have kind of a thing going on down there. They look all right, but then we look at Pittsburgh. We look at their defense and go, that's pretty good. But then you look at their offense and you go, well, I don't know any other offensive linemen. And I really don't know what's going on with that quarterback situation with Russell and with Justin. Is it both of them are the quarterback? Is it one of them? Do they split snaps? Is it like Justin does first down, Russell does second, Justin does third, and they flip-flop on drives? You know, Russell does first and third. You know, I don't really know what's going on with Pittsburgh's offense, and I kind of have an idea that Atlanta's going to be a pretty solid football team, especially on the defensive side. So I'm going to go with the Falcons over the Steelers in this one. Oh boy, Arizona Cardinals take on the Buffalo Bills. Bills are favored by 5.5 with an over/under of 48.5. Arizona went. They tried last year and they went 4-13. The Bills are 11-6. But to be fair to the Cardinals, they were banged up last year. Effectively, I just basically what I think is Buffalo is going to have one of the more annoying offenses in the year, a dual tight end system that is hyper effective, and they're going to be able to run the ball with James Cook. So again, you have Kincaid, you have Dawson, I think Knox, and then of course you've got at least one receiver with Samuel, maybe Keon Coleman, who can go out there and make a problem. And I don't know if the Cardinals have the defense to necessarily stop that. I do think it'll be fun to watch Marvin Harrison and company kind of debut and get going. So I think that'll keep Arizona alive in games, their offense, but ultimately I think their defense will get them murdered in this game. So I'm going to go with the Bills. The Tennessee Titans take on the Chicago Bears. Bears are favored by 4.5. Well, boy, my upset pick's coming up next. Bears are favored by 4.5 with an over/under of 45.5. The Titans went 6-11 last year. The Bears went 7-10, but had a really impressive offseason. Kind of made themselves have one of the better receiving cores with DJ Moore. They added in Roma Dunze in the draft. They have Keenan Allen, and that all goes with their new young quarterback, Caleb Williams, decent run game with DeAndre Swift. So they should have a Cole Kmet at tight end. They should have a good offense. They should have a good defense. So, and then we go to look to Tennessee, where everything kind of feels like it's kind of in a stasis of a rebuild, where it's like they have the pieces with Levis and all these other guys, and it's kind of coming along, but it feels like they're a year or so behind where they want to be. Whereas with the Bears, it feels like they could maybe fuck around and win some games this year if everything kind of plays out the way it's looking like it's going to play out. Again, this is an on-paper team, so anything could go wrong with Chicago here, and they could get destroyed, and it really wouldn't be that surprising. But I'm going to give them some credit. They put together a really good offense. Everything looks good. So really, the only question is, can they actually execute? And I think they will, at least against Tennessee. This is my upset pick of the weekend. And I know it's because I'm a Patriots fan and no one's going to give it to me, but I actually think you should consider this. It's the New England Patriots taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, of course, in Cincinnati. Bengals are favored by the biggest line of the weekend, 9.5, with an over-under of 40.5. Patriots went 4-13 last year, and the Bengals went 9-8. The reason I'm picking the Patriots, Cincinnati, the entirety of the Joe Burrow run and the Zach Taylor run has never been good to start. The first 3 to 4 games of the year, they're one of the worst teams in the league. They look off. They don't really try in the preseason. They use these first 3 or 4 games as their preseason to kind of get right, get their timing down, get everything going. That's point one. The Patriots played all preseason pretty aggressively. They've been using starters and, trying to figure things out, redevelop themselves. So again, they're a little bit more in sync, in time, ready to go compared to the Bengals, who used the first couple weeks to get ready. So you got that thing. Number 2 is you kind of have to also look at the Justin Jefferson or the Jamar Chase situation, where we're not sure if Chase is even going to play in this game. And if he doesn't, that gives the Patriots, who do have a very, very good secondary, this really weird advantage of being able to completely shut down the Bengals receivers. Even with Jamar Chase, the Patriots were going to make this close because, again, they're returning the entire defense that they had last year, and they added a few new pieces. So it's only gotten better back there. They kept all their coaching except Belichick. You know what I mean? So the defense should mostly be the same as it was last year. And with no Jamar Chase, and with a Bengals team that's kind of out of sync, out of time, using this game to get right, probably completely overlooking the Patriots in this game because of a new coach, new everything. It's not Bill Belichick. So again, you kind of have a few things starting to kind of look like it could go in the Patriots' favor. You have Jacoby Brissett, who's used to playing the Bengals. He's been there. Alex Van Pelt is used to the Bengals defense, the Patriots offensive coordinator. So there's a few things that could kind of spell an upset. Now, is this very likely? Probably not. Will the Bengals win? I don't know. I think this is a pretty good upset pick, though, for what I just said. Even if I wasn't a Patriots fan, I think I'd be picking the Bengals to get upset this week. The Houston Texans take on the Indianapolis Colts. Texans are 2.5-point favorites with an over-under of 49.5. Texans went 10-7 in a very good year last year. The Colts went 9-8 in a really good last year despite all the injuries. I just think the Texans are a better team, right? They have a better defense. They have a better offense, better coaching. The Colts have a good team. They'll be a good team this year as long as they can stay healthy, but it's just one of them things where it's like Stroud's better than Richardson's from what we can tell. The Texans receiving core with Diggs, Nico Collins, the other one that I can't remember, Tank Dell, is better than the Colts with Michael Pittman. You know what I mean? Like the running game in Houston's good with Joe Mixon. Indy maybe with Jonathan Taylor has him, but again, the line and everything kind of just points to Houston. So I'm going to go with Houston winning their opener here. The Jacksonville Jaguars take on the Miami Dolphins in the Battle of Florida. Dolphins are favored by 3 with an over-under of 49.5. Jaguars went 9-8 last year, missed the playoffs. Miami went 11-6, actually made the playoffs, but failed to win a game. Did they make the playoffs? I can't remember if they made the playoffs. I think they did. Doesn't really matter. Either way, Dolphins take on the Jaguars. Basically, I think if Jacksonville was playing just about any other team to start the year, I think they'd win. But I just don't know if their defense is quite good enough and made enough improvements in the secondary to deal with the Miami offense. Because again, Miami can run the ball very, very well. Jacksonville probably can deal with that and somewhat stop it because they have a good like D-line, good linebacking core. But the question is how are they going to deal with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, right? In like the year 3 together, and Tua's who he is. So again, it's one of them things where it's like, do we think that the Jaguars did enough in their secondary to deal with the Miami team that's trying to win and score points? You know what I mean? I personally don't think so. We got to see it in person. Could this be an upset? Maybe. But it's one of them things where it's like, I'm kind of leaning towards Miami because, again, we know what their offense looks like. It's going to look pretty much the same as it did last year. And we have an idea what the Jaguars secondary looks like. If it looks like it did last year, Miami's going to win. I don't care about this game. The Carolina Panthers take on the New Orleans Saints. Saints are 4.5 point favorites with an over-under of 41.5. I got the Saints winning 21-14. I think, it is what it is. We all hope Carolina's better this year. We really do. But, let's not waste our breath on that kind of stuff. The Minnesota Vikings take on the New York Giants, another game I really don't give a shit about this weekend. The Vikings are 1.5 point favorites with an over-under of 41.5. Vikings went 7-10 last year. Giants went 6-11. I really don't want to spend a lot of time on Sam Darnold versus Daniel Jones, but I'm going to go with the Daniel Jones and the Giants because they have a good defense, good offensive weaponry. The Vikings don't really have the best. The Vikings were already going to be a rough season this year without Sam Darnold. The Giants are like one of them teams where it's like, yeah, if Daniel Jones plays good, they could be a sneaky playoff team. It's just like, it's one of them like extremes with the Giants. So I'm going to go with the Giants. I'm not picking Sam Darnold. Okay, here's a game we can actually talk about. The Raiders take on the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers are favored by 3. The Raiders went 8-9 last year, kind of a fun little end of the year with Antonio Pierce. And then the Chargers went 5-12, and they hired Jim Harbaugh in the offseason. Basically, they're a whole new team, a whole new everything, and that's part of why I'm picking them to lose. I have no idea what they're going to look like. They got rid of like all their receivers. They have a run first team now. They kind of changed the entirety of their system. While I think it's going to be fine in the long run, I think changing everything and then running into one of the better defenses in the league in the Raiders is like super shitty to have to deal with. It's like, if they were playing a bad defense, I would probably pick the Chargers to take this first week. But the fact that they're getting like a top 3 defense, top 5 defense, week 1 in a whole new brand new system, it's like, oh boy, that sucks. That's the worst thing to run into. And I think the Chargers play pretty good defense, but I think Gardner Minshew and company can do just enough to get the Raiders offense over. Again, this is kind of just basically like, if when game 2 comes along, I could see the Chargers winning it because they have a little bit more. They're used to what they're doing, whereas like, the Raiders may just key off and beat the shit out of a team doing new stuff. Denver Broncos take on the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle is the 5.5 point favorites with an over-under of 41.5. All right, with this one, Denver went 8-9 last year, and the Seahawks went 9-8. So when I look at this game, I'm going to go with Seattle despite new coaching. I think Seattle was a pretty good team last year. They were figuring their stuff out. They were halfway decent. Whereas with Denver, I don't like Bo Nix. I don't really like what they're doing. I don't really know what they're doing. They had all these position battles in the preseason. That's why they did so good. So I wouldn't really take that too seriously. I kind of got to see Denver operate before I pick them to win a game. Plus, it's in Seattle, tough place to play if you have a rookie quarterback with a pretty good defense with a mastermind defensive coordinator as a head coach. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go with Seattle. One of the few good ones left. Dallas Cowboys take on the Cleveland Browns. Browns are favored by 2.5 with an over-under of 42.5. Cowboys went 12-5 last year. Browns went 11-6. In this one, I'm feeling the Browns. I like what they do on defense. I like that they're home. I do think Deshaun Watson's going to come out and play a lot better than what he did last year. Kind of what we've seen before he got hurt last year, where he was starting to figure it out, get back to the old Deshaun. Not the massage old Deshaun, but like the playing Deshaun. When he used to be able to play football good and look good. He did by the end of before his injury, he was looking good. I like the addition of Jerry Jeudy with Amari Cooper. I think that's a solid little receiving core now. Whereas with like the Cowboys, they're dealing with like weird injuries in their secondary. Bland's out. Their offensive line got really shifted up and moved around this offseason, if I'm not mistaken. So again, you have to deal with the Cleveland Browns and that defensive line that they have. I think, did they still got Gallup in Dallas? I'm not sure. There's like a weird thing going on with the Cowboys where I'm sure they'll be a good team this year. But like they had some weird changes this offseason and a lot of like weird tension and a lot of weirdness. Sorry, I took a drink. With Dak's contract, it's just kind of like some strange tension coming out of Dallas. And if everything was like settled up, and maybe if they were in Dallas, I would pick the opposite. I really feel like the Cleveland being home is like the main determiner why I went the Browns here. Plus, I'm just high on Cleveland this year, and I think Deshaun will fix his. He's still a terrible person, but I think he'll play football better. I don't know. That was a tough game. This one was not. The Washington Commanders take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bucks are favored by 3.5 with an over/under of 43.5. Washington is under all new ownership, all new everything this year. They went 4-13 last year. Tampa went 9-8, won the division. I think Tampa's defense will completely shut down what is a bad offensive line in Washington. A rookie quarterback with one good receiver in Terry McLaurin. And I guess Dotson. No, they traded him. So I don't even know what they have. I don't really know what Washington has. They had a decent defense, but they got rid of all their good defensive players, if I remember correctly, or at least one of them. I don't know. They're just not a scary team. They're in a rebuild year, so I don't really expect much. I expect Tampa to take this pretty serious and try to win this. They probably want to try to win their division. Yeah, I like Tampa's defense. I like the year 2 of an offense that has the exact same team. I think basically Tampa's the same team as last year, and they're a better team than the Commanders. So I'm excited to watch Shane Daniels play, though. I think he could look pretty good. It's just that offensive line is awful. Sunday Night Football. All right, 2 games left. We have the game of the week. The Los Angeles Rams take on the Detroit Lions. Matthew Stafford coming home, trying to get revenge for the playoff game. Lions are 3.5-point favorites with an over-under of 51.5. They're expecting some offense in this one. So am I. The Rams went 10-7 last year and fell in the playoffs to the Detroit Lions, who went 12-5, won their first playoff game, won another one, then almost won in the NFC Championship game, but collapsed. So the Lions are probably going to be coming in super fucking angry into this one. Yeah, so basically the way I'm looking at this is, when I look at the Lions, I see a team that had basically one fatal weakness last season, and that was their secondary. And then they spent the entire offseason fixing the secondary, drafting a couple rookies, getting Amik Robertson, getting Carlton Davis. You know what I mean? Like, those are good moves, especially for a defense that plays man. Carlton Davis was the number 2 man corner last year, just behind L'Jarius Sneed. Tampa just didn't run man last year for some reason. And then they have, of course, Amik Robertson, who's a very good slot corner / outside guy. And then they have the 2 rookies they drafted. They have Brian Branch back in the safety position with Ife Mafwanu, who's the only player who's questionable for Detroit. You add DJ Reader with Aiden Hutchinson. That should make all the difference in the world for his sack numbers. Again, you have this sort of situation where the Lions fixed up their defense, which was their only weakness. They went and added Tim Patrick to be more sure-handed for the receivers. Basically upgraded Josh Reynolds. They're running back the same offense essentially, so we have another year of cohesion, the same coaches. It's one of them things where it's the Lions look like one of them teams where they're going to be very, very hard to beat this year. And when I look at the Rams, I'm like, they're also going to be very, very hard to beat. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Stafford, Kyron Williams, the tight end that they have. They have a very good situation going on there, but the only problem for this game, when your defense undergoes a radical change, like losing Aaron Donald, one of the greatest defensive tackles ever, if not the greatest DT ever, there's going to be a noticeable difference in your defense, the way that the pass rush is operated, the way the rush defenses ran. And again, maybe the Rams have it all figured out right away, but I think in game 1, running into an offense as hyper potent as Detroit, who can run the ball, throw the ball, run play action, do whatever they really want with the rock, I think that's a problem for a defense kind of trying to recalibrate and refigure out its identity after losing a player like Donald. Again, if this was 4 weeks down the road, it might be a different outcome. You know, the Rams may win the game, but with the situation as it is, it's kind of like, will the Rams defense be able to stop the Lions offense enough to win the game? I don't think so. I think this is a very good close matchup, but I think the thing that pushes the Lions over is the home crowd, number 1. Number 2, the Rams defense having changed. And number 3, the Lions basically they're going to be super fucking aggressive. They're going to be so angry in this game. I don't think people understand it. They're talking about wearing black uniforms. I'm going to go with the Lions in what should be probably the best game of the weekend. Monday Night Football. Here's another good one. The New York Jets take on the San Francisco 49ers in San Francisco, if that's important. The 49ers are 3.5-point favorites with an over-under of 43.5. Jets had a decent year without a quarterback. They went 7-10. 49ers fell short in the Super Bowl 12-5. I'm going to go with the 49ers. Basically, despite everything, that's hilarious. I do think it matters that Shanahan will understand everything that the New York Jets are going to do, because he is kind of, he did mentor and kind of teach Salah how to coach, how to be a head coach. So kind of like how Shanahan does, he sort of dominates over his proteges, the guys that he coached over. So that's one thing. Number 2, even if Aaron's healthy and ready to go, he does not play well against the 49ers. They're like the team that seems to have his number. They get his GOAT. Doesn't matter if the 49ers are a bad team. They just seem to mess with Aaron. There's something about the 49ers that gets in Aaron's heads, and he plays. It's just he loses those games. I don't even know what happens. And I think it carries over with the 49ers and the Jets. I don't think it's just a Packers thing. I think it's just an Aaron Rodgers thing. I think the Jets will probably do a lot to shut down the 49ers offense, but I do think since it's early in the season, you could see a lot more whatever, just a lot of teams playing out of characteristic. I don't know. This is going to be a good game. I'm picking the 49ers because of their luck over Aaron Rodgers and the fact that the Jets are still going to be kind of figuring things out as kind of a new team, if you will. So there could be some rust and some weirdness. Heard the vibes are bad out in New York. Don't know if that's just their stupid media. Oh, give me the Niners. I like the Niners. That's my week 1 picks. All right, that wasn't so painful. We got through it. But yeah, we got through it. We got all the games done. Hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you leave your picks down below. That is, again, the most important part of this. I like to see what you pick. I like to do head-to-head pick 'em. It's just fun to do, you know. But yeah, that's it. That's week 1. Down the drain, in the dumps, in the tube, all finito, final, end. Anyway, yeah, so I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a good rest of your day, rest of the week, rest of your morning, mid-afternoon, mid-evening, that time between like 11 and 12 where it's like, this isn't really morning, but it's not afternoon, mid-morning. I don't know. Either way, whenever you listen, have a good one. Thank you so much, and I'll see you around. That's it. That's week 1. I can't believe it. Holy shit. All right, have a good one. Go Lions, go Patriots. Or go Lions, go Tigers, and of course it's always go Patriots. Let's get that upset. Woo.